Hello, friends. This is Spencer Love, your host of Over the Top Rope on the Win Column Sports Network. Don't forget you can head to wincolumnsports.ca for all of your previews, reviews, and breaking news from the world of wrestling, be it your major promotions or from the great province of Alberta, Canada.
Awesome!
This is your main man RJ from the Ringside Rant, heard only on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. So go over and subscribe across all your major platforms, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher to hear every great interview I have every Monday on the Visionaries Wrestling Network. Go over and follow the show's page on Twitter @_Ringside Rant. Follow the network's page @BizWrestleNet. And, as always, embrace the vision.
If you like podcasts and you are listening to Backbreaker Media, then you should listen to me, Chris Parrish,
and myself, Manoia,
and the Sounds of Struggle, because we are literally the most entertaining duo you'll ever come across in Western Canadian wrestling, baby.
We talk about things like wrestling
and other sports we like.
Wrestling,
but we won't talk about other sports that we don't like, because it's not that kind of podcast.
Like wrestling?
I mean, we like hockey.
And wrestling.
And we like football.
And wrestling.
And we also like to drink beer.
While wrestling.
Well, not while wrestling, but while watching wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to get into a conversation with Maniac and Chris Parrish, then you need to tune into the Sounds of Struggle live on Backbreaker Media.
Every Thursday.
That's when we hope to drop, but sometimes Mike Malawany doesn't do his job right.
Or we're too drunk to forget.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
He can bleep out the swear word, because we weren't supposed to do that.
Oh,
but
I'll try not to swear. I can't do it.
Yeah. Let's face it, the two of us, we're real.
And spectacular.
And we're a little bit of all right.
Yeah.
We're also strugglicious.
That we are.
That was kind of the key. We're supposed to be strugglicious.
Oh, sorry, I'm drunk.
Yeah. So, if you don't want to listen to us, then no, you're stupid, because we're entertaining. And if you want to listen to us, then come listen to us on Backbreaker Media.
Yeah.
Later,
he said.
Later, bitches.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of Total Nonstop Anarchy, a look at what a promotion that went from awesome to crazy to whatever the heck it is now, TNA Pro Wrestling. I am Andre C., your host, and joining me on this episode, I've got fellow Backbreaker Media Network member. My first time really talking with this man is the Danimal Daniel Jobber. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks. Great to be here.
I'm glad to have you, man. So, how long you been a wrestling fan?
Pretty much my whole life. I was a fan when I was a little kid and saw my first live shows when I was young, and then watched it a little bit on and off during university years, and then, of course now I'm as hardcore as you can get. So.
For a lot of people, they're not so much hardcore anymore. That's the thing.
I mean, I'm just getting back into it. The WWE Network has really just gave me a new real surgeons that brought me right back into the thick of everything. So.
Oh yeah, it's huge for a lot of people, and for me, like I have it primarily just so I can watch NXT and the pay-per-views. It's kind of all I watch on it anymore, but I still keep it just for that, because I'd rather pay $12 a month than having to find legal streams and stuff going down, right?
Absolutely, and I think the best part of the WWE Network is that they bring a lot of nostalgia. They allow me to relive moments and to see things maybe I didn't see as clearly or from a different perspective from modern day light. I just like the way they do all kinds of things from the past.
So talk about nostalgia. We're looking back at TNA Pro Wrestling. Do you have any history watching TNA? Were you ever a big fan of it, or?
Well, I mean, I'm really into all the changes and things to the Monday Night Wars, but before that, I'm as interested and as a fan learning a little bit of the history as anybody. I'm just taking it all in and really impressed with how they started out, and interested to think about how a promotion like this starts off, and the changes from the first couple of pay-per-views. So.
Well, yeah, because you got TNA Pro Wrestling, which started in June of 2002, but its precursor is what we're going to be talking about today, and that is, and we're going to be talking about the second World Wrestling AllStars pay-per-view, The Eruption. And this was essentially the precursor. As you heard me and Mike on the first episode, we discussed the death of WCW, which is kind of the birth of TNA Pro Wrestling in a sense. And then myself and Kyle last show talking about the first and very insane World Wrestling All-Stars pay-per-view. And going into this one, I thought it was a very huge shift in style for the pay-per-view. Did you get a chance to watch the first one?
I did, yeah, I really enjoyed it. Although I do have to correct you. This one's called The Revolution.
Oh, The Revolution. I apologize. I was thinking that's the next one. The Eruption, yes. Yeah. So we go into The Revolution, and it was a very big shift in the way they presented this one versus the first WWE pay-per-view, The Inception.
Very much so. This one obviously wasn't going to be able to top the first. I mean, the first one was trying to draw in all kinds of fans. This one looked like they were trying to, keep it going, but definitely they had to tone down their budget, I think, and create a style that was more more reasonable or maintainable.
Well, I think with this one, they came back to the United States for this. This is the only of the 5 WWE pay-per-views they did. This is the only one that is in the United States.
That's pretty crazy to think about, that they went all over the world. And Vegas, too, on top of that. What a place to have a show.
Well, and if you look at the crowd from the first pay-per-view to this one, it's a sizable size shift. This is in a small area. At one point, if they get the right angle, you can see the back of the crowd.
Yeah.
It's not that big. This didn't feel that big as compared to the Australian event, but I found this one was better because they had more of a range of wrestlers on this one.
And it was more personal. I mean, how do you top Sydney? I mean, that's a whole other world there. But the crowd is a little more personal, almost like an NXT kind of venue, which I liked.
I found it more like in indie or an NXT style and I thought this one, I enjoyed this one much more than the last one, just due to the fact that it was more wrestling based and there wasn't as much ridiculous crap as the last one.
I guess the ending was kind of with the referees battling. We'll get into that later. But
there was some ridiculous stuff on this one. Don't get me wrong, but it just didn't have the amount of crazy that the last one had. But I think this one really stepped it up in the quality of wrestling that it gave.
It got a chance to be a little more real. And I mean, the last one was all about stars. It was pretty star-studded. I mean, this one here has a little bit more focus on a reasonable, maintainable roster too, I think.
Well, yeah, and they're actually, especially with the cruiserweights, they bring in a lot of guys who end up becoming the future of TNA, WWE, and New Japan. A lot of guys that eventually go out and become, and ROH too. They bring in they have a lot of guys here that become the future of what we watch today.
I was really surprised that they're not saying to say over-reliance, maybe that's the wrong term, but their strong reliance on cruiserweights. Imagine if WWE had to do that today. They would be in pretty big trouble because 205 Live's bombing so bad.
But you also got to remember, I know you're especially big for the cruiserweights. I know you focus a lot on that fourth year show. So I know cruiserweights are huge for you, but it's just with coming off of WCW, they had a big cruiserweight presence. You got to remember, we got to look back, especially in the mid to late 90s, there was a huge cruiserweight presence, and it became more of the spot show, and I found this was more getting back to that mid to late 90s cruiserweight style.
There's nothing wrong with cruiserweights. I mean, I always love watching a couple of big burly heavyweights going at it, but there's nothing wrong with watching high-flying, fun, agile cruiserweights go. And I mean, it really showed some of the talent on this one.
And to me, this one actually feels closer to more the X division than what this is. Yeah, all the guys are cruiserweight level weights, but it wasn't as much about the spots in this in both the Cruiserweight match season 8. They're more about a lot of the guys have really good styles since what the X Division would become.
It gave a lot of freedom for individual styles. You're right. It wasn't like where 205 Live, they're doing a lot of the same things no matter who they are, maybe.
Yeah. So let's get into the pay-per-view itself. So it comes to you from Las Vegas, Nevada at the Alladin Casino, which they said that, I don't know how many times they mentioned they were at the Alladin Casino.
Yeah.
It seemed to be their favorite thing. So the opening, there was a video there was the band first, and I really didn't like them.
Yeah.
I didn't
like Tantric?
this guy. It was at least the song I didn't care for.
I agree. It wasn't Tantric's best stuff, that's for sure.
No, I actually didn't even know that was the name of the band, to tell you the truth. I was looking in it, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, I listened to something, and it's just he just repeated the words "revolution" just so many times.
Yeah, I agree. It was kind of, I mean, it got set some kind of mood, but it wasn't really a big thing, I don't think.
No, not me. It was just an odd opening. And then we get the opening video, which was partially a recap from the last event, and then it's a video of some of the guys that were in this show. And then Jeremy Borash and Mark Madden welcomed us to the show. And this is a big shift. This is a shift from the last pay-per-view, which would had Jeremy Borash and Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah, you can't top Jerry, man. Jerry Lawler was so funny, the last one. Vintage Jerry Lawler, and I mean, I know Mark Madden tried to do his best, and he was okay, but you just can't top a Jerry Lawler.
He's not quite Jerry Lawler level, but like I was actually watching him in that event. I said it on the last show. I was getting quite annoyed by Jerry Lawler at some points in this show, just with I don't know, his 2001 shtick doesn't quite hold up to me in this day and age. Nor does Mark Madden's, though.
I don't know. I kind of like the metaphors and the references, though. That's kind of my thing too, I guess. So
yeah, I just thought, I prefer the commentary of today, like the stuff you get out of like Nigel and the guys in NXT. I like that kind of style right there. That's my favorite, but
more focused, just two guys going back and forth with their opinions and stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. So from there, we go into our first match of the night, and it's a 6-man cruiserweight survival elimination match. I think the survival elimination thing kind of was redundant, but whatever.
Well, it made for a long and entertaining enough first match anyways. I mean,
I'll say this, at least this show, they got themselves a ring announcer instead of having Jeremy Borash from the commentary table doing the ring entrances.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one had Nova of ECW fame, Supernova, Hollywood Nova, whatever you want to call him, versus Low-Key, would be known, I think least known for his run in WWE as Senshi. AJ Styles, who I think
we all know about his fame.
I think we all know what I don't know. Have you ever heard from him lately? I don't know.
Yeah, never. I don't know what he's doing nowadays.
And versus Tony Mamaluke, who I found this funny. His weight was 2,337 liquid ounces. I found that kind of funny. But it's stuff like that like, if you look at the indies here in Alberta, Slammer goes, they say 240 pounds of pure nuclear bicep. I think when you add something to your weights and stuff, it makes people remember that. And it makes people kind of remember that you in a sense, just without even doing a move. It makes them think, think about this. It makes them think about you. That's the thing.
It's a good point. I mean, really, announcing the weights has been a convention, but really, we know this isn't a real sports event in that sense, No. So really, their weights.
Yeah.
So it's nice to put a spin on it, I think.
And the final member of this match is the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels. And the thing is, they were like, when the video stopped playing, they were already in the ring, ready to go.
Yeah, they didn't waste a lot of time. That was probably a good thing. They wanted to get the pay-per-view going.
So yeah, it started out with AJ Styles and Tony Mamaluke, and there is so much in this match that we're just gonna go through. Just give our highlights of this match. I'll go through.
Mamaluke got cut in the first 2 minutes of the match.
Like,
that was unusual.
that I think he took a bad fall when he came down and he just cut open his face, I think on the rope or something. And yeah, one thing I was hearing from Matt when the Shark Boy got in the match, he did an atomic drop and then he bit Tony Mamaluke's ass. And Mark Madden says he had to pay a woman $15 for that last night, and then Jeremy Borash said, "Oh, and she gave you $10 back in change." I was just like, oh my god, like I'm like
Not
really?
PG.
and the one other thing Madden kept saying was, especially talking about Nova, is that he's no longer a cartoon character and he's serious now, because if you know anything about Nova, he was kind of an over-the-top superhero in ECW, where now he's getting serious, and he would eventually become Simon Dean in the WWE.
So he's just getting on with the serious part of his career.
Yeah, because he would have to turn around. He became a comedy character in WWE where he was like a trainer style, and he like sold supplements and stuff. Like he was one of those kind of guys, and it was just a ridiculous character when he went to the WWE. So I guess this was his serious time.
Yeah.
I had to say this with Low-Ki. I'm super impressed, even back then, how good he was in the ring. Like, just the kicks and the ability he had that earlier on in his career, just so good.
He killed Shark Boy.
Oh, did he ever? Like, it just murdered him. Like, there was a Tower of Doom spot where Shark Boy hit the sunset flip to Low-Ki, who was suplexing Mamaluke. Look, they did it like picture perfect.
Yeah, it was a really, really strong opening for sure.
Yeah, and then the first elimination came when Low-Ki ended up eliminating Shark Boy when he hit a cartwheel kick to eliminate him.
And that was a surprise because, and I said he took him by surprise because here we have Marmaluke bleeding and the fans all booing him and wanting him eliminated, and he keeps surviving. And then all of a sudden, Shark Boy goes to take him out, and Low-Ki catches him off guard and eliminates him instead.
Yeah, just Low-Ki and Marmaluke, who is getting booed the most in this match, really. And everybody wants him out, but it's Shark Boy out first. So from there, Daniels hits like this huge STO on Mamaluke, and he goes for the BME, but AJ pulls him down, and Mamaluke ends up running up and hit this top rope backdrop. Just looked perfect.
Yeah, and then, of course, leading into the Styles Clash, which finally finished him off.
Well, it led into Daniels spinning it around, hitting the Angel's wings, and then tags in Styles, and Styles hits the Styles Clash to eliminate Mamaluke. I thought a great sequence to eliminate him, because both these men, neither one finisher had been established yet, and it kind of made both go, wow, that's an awesome finishers from both.
Yeah, you really got to see the two of them standing out there.
Yeah. So the next element, one spot that came up, so Low-Ki gets a Nova up in the corner, and he gets up behind him and sits behind him while they're both sitting on the turnbuckles facing out, and then he grabs him by the head, and they go backwards, and he does a dragon sleeper from the top turnbuckle.
Yeah, another sick move.
It's just impressive. But then eventually move to the outside, and AJ goes for a shooting, as Madden calls it, a shooting Styles press to the outside, and it looks like he comes down right on his head. Because
yeah, that
looked
looked
like
nasty.
He didn't get the full rotation off. It just looked brutal. But Daniels get Low-Ki back in the ring, and they're back in the ring, and Low-Ki's on the top rope with Tony Mamaluke. They're fighting. Then all of a sudden, Daniels gets he jumps up on the rope and grabs Low-Ki off and just does this flying STO or rock bottom from the top rope, and then ends up eliminating Low-Ki.
Yeah, that was surprising. I thought Low-Ki would go a little further, but I mean, everyone had to go, of course, besides AJ Styles and Nova at some point. So
yeah, but I thought it was just a beautiful, because it kind of, they were used to find that it's out of nowhere. Daniels just comes up and hits that STO from the top, just out of nowhere, and it just looked kind of perfect. Like it just took, like it kind of felt okay for the elimination, because It's that move that just came out of nowhere.
And it being low-key that was fallen.
Yeah. So from there, there was another spot that Daniels gets Styles on the ground, and he gets him into a Dragon Sleeper, but it's on the mat. But then Nova grabs Daniels and he flips over him, and he grabs him in kind of like a last chancery, and they're just standing there like both men and putting the submissions on. Well, like he's got the submission on Daniels, but Daniels is still holding the submission on AJ Styles. I thought actually a kind of cool little spot there.
Yeah, definitely was impressive. Anyway, I don't know what to say about it, but it was pretty well done.
It shows the athleticism of these guys being able to do that.
Yeah, that would definitely take some athletic ability. And then Styles Clash too is pretty athletic when you do it the way they did it too.
Yeah, so Daniels went up, like he got AJ up onto the second rope, and he goes to give him a Hurricanrana from the top, but AJ kind of holds onto him and then just does the Styles Clash again, but from the second rope, and then put him over. And Daniels is the next man eliminated, which surprised the heck out of me because I was pulling for him to win.
Yeah, Daniels was definitely standing out the way he was with his athletic ability and everything for sure. And yeah, that Styles Clash though, at least if you're going to go down, that's the way to go down.
Yeah.
Actually, AJ does that really well. He did it to a buddy of mine, Marky, the original Marky in Edmonton when they fought a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, I was sitting front row for that match. So, awesome move off there. That looked sick. I remember that very much so.
Yeah, AJ Styles Clash is legendary.
Yeah. So from there, AJ, this is another sequence that I had to make note of. AJ ends up hitting a German suplex and then rolls through and then brings up Nova and then wheelbarrow into the wheelbarrow position and then lifts him up and then brings him back down and does the facebuster, like a wheelbarrow facebuster. I thought just a great sequence, roll through and then up and then hit the facebuster. I thought great.
Sick combination, and definitely not Roman Reigns kind of style where he just picks people up and just holds them there.
No,
it was quick.
It just showed how good these guys are, and AJ being only a couple years into his career at this point, because I don't think he came around in like 99, 2000 somewhere. So showing how good he is just there, and then the finish came where AJ went to the top, but Nova climbed up and hit the Spanish Fly, but he comes down again, another guy landing on his head. Like when he went to the Spanish Fly, Nova kind of lands on his head.
Yeah, it was. Those are some nasty moments. You almost hold your breath some of the times with these guys.
Oh yeah, and then he ends up getting the pin. 1, 2, 3. Your winner is Nova at 19 minutes and 42 seconds. I absolutely love this match.
Yeah, it was surprising, and of course, as I'm looking ahead, it sets up another confrontation with these guys at the next pay-per-view too. So they definitely knew where they were going with these guys.
It would have, but next pay-per-view would end up being it'll end up being a. Well, we'll talk about it after a couple matches from now. But so we go from there, and I made this note here. I looked at Jared. They went to Jared Bosch, Matt, and they were talking about Sabu and Devon Storm, the former Crowbar, and
yes.
I thought as I look at Jared Bosch, I'm like, man, he looks like he should be in a boy band.
Yeah, he looks so young. His voice is really good, though. I mean, I really enjoyed his
look. He's got like the bleached
commentary,
blonde hair, and like he looks so done up. It's just like he should be on stage with the Backstreet Boys or something. Is what he looked like.
Yeah, but I tell you, he looked young and whatever, but he was smooth. Man, his voice is definitely good for announcing. That's for sure.
Yeah. So from there, Bret Hart video, weird Bret Hart video plays. Bret Hart comes out, but from when they went to showing the stage, it was a weirdly long time. It was a little weirdly long time before Bret actually came out. Did you find that kind of odd?
Yeah, I think they were trying to kill some time. Maybe. I mean, they did run 2.5 hours, and there wasn't that many matches overall. So.
But yeah, I just found it felt like a production flub to me. How they cued it, and then they're like, "Wait, where's Bret? Oh crap, he's not ready to go out yet," and he's still on the screen. So I
guess they really didn't fill it very well. So yeah, you might be right.
So Bret comes out. He puts over like Jarrett and Steiner, the veteran guys that they have, and they're great. And then he says like all the young guys are here to give it their all. But then he announced. So this pay-per-view was supposed to have Randy Savage, which they announced wouldn't be there, But they didn't announce that till the pre-show, I guess, before the show to the crowd.
Pretty smart, probably. Sad, but smart.
But originally, 2 people they were supposed to have was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Oh, they had them too. I didn't hear about that.
But the thing is, they re-signed about a couple of weeks before this. They decided to re-sign with the WWE because the NWO will be coming in right around this time in the WWE. With
Good to have the background story as to why.
For the end up, yeah. So that's why, and then so you lose essentially three of your most well-known wrestlers off this show. That's not good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it was doomed, but it definitely was doomed to underachieve compared to the first pay-per-view as soon as you lose talent like that.
Yeah.
It's good that it wasn't too hyped up before the pay-per-view because they might have had some trouble selling some tickets at that point.
Well, the thing is, Kevin Nash and the Scott Hall thing was known that they weren't coming. They had given that info out a little bit before, so at least the fans knew. It's just the Randy Savage thing. If I came to a show expecting Randy Savage and they knew about this probably like a week or so out that he wasn't going to be there, and then I found out afterwards that at the show they told me he wasn't going to be there, and then I found out later on that they'd known for a week beforehand, I would be kind of mad.
Yeah, I think I'm surprised more fans weren't asking for their money back.
I would have been.
That's a pretty tough blow to take. I mean, you can't replace a Randy Savage on a talent roster,
no.
Even for one night. You just can't.
Yeah, and so but the thing is, he replaces Randy Savage with Grandmaster Sexy.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like, honestly, I really wish he would have I wish he would have just said Scott Steiner instead, and we would have got the original promoted match of Disco Inferno versus Grandmaster Sexy. I really wish Scott Steiner had maybe been in that main event. I think it would have been a little more star powered for that.
Yeah, you're probably right. Would they have
I think the
meshed
better
well?
match
I don't know, but
I think the better match came out of Brian Christopher. But I think the more fan appealing match, because I could hear when he said Brian Christopher, the crowd didn't know him by that name very well. They only knew him as Grandmaster Sexy. So I could hear people in the crowd going, "Who's that?" and who, and like, nobody knew. Haha, who. There's people audibly saying had no idea who he was.
At least he said Jerry Lawler's son, which helped a little bit. But
that helped a bit, but they couldn't say Grandmaster Sexy. They should have said the Grandmaster Brian Christopher, because that's how he was introduced later on in the night. But
now the Savage, you got one of Jerry Lawler's puppies.
Yeah. So from there, they went to a backstage segment, which had 2 midgets getting ready to fight each other, and then all of a sudden, the Funkster shows up.
I tell you, for me, that almost made the entire show.
That
is a great impression.
He did so well. I think, to me, the impression was so like over the top and like comical that it made it just genius. Because he went so over the top with it. Like, he did everything to a T.
Like, it was spot on. Like, I mean, if I had to nitpick, I'd say maybe a few too many brothers near the end of the promo itself.
No.
Maybe could have cut off 1 or 2. The match, though, was perfect.
He didn't even come to even close to as many brothers as the Hulkster actually does. Come on. He kept it conservative, in my opinion, and there was a lot of brothers in there.
A lot of brothers.
So he talks...
And one dude...
He talks to both of the midgets, and you know, he's just, I don't know, just telling him how he'll teach them both to be awesome or something. And then as he leaves, the midgets start fighting again. So
what you gonna do, brothers?
So from there, we go to match number 2, and it is Reno versus Alan the Funkster Funk. And it was funny. It said from Las Vegas, Nevada, Reno.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? I'm like, that's just dumb.
And he's right, yeah, Reno from Las Vegas, and of course the guys made the announcement, Reno. Like, oh, the guy's name is Reno. You didn't know.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then Alan Funk comes out, and just, I found a lot, like, the first while of this match was a lot of Reno beating up on Funk.
Like Hulk Hogan never got beat up for 15 minutes before he came back.
Well, trust me, this wasn't 15 minutes, but...
No, it definitely wasn't.
And you know, he ended up doing the Hulk up spot 3 times in this match.
Yeah, they should have made it a little more focused, I think, in that way, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll get towards the end. I just remember Reno actually hit what he called the roll of dice, and it's the crossroads.
Yes, that was nice.
I really liked that. And then he went up to the top rope, and he went for the fist drop, but Funk put his leg up and kicked Reno in the face. And that's when Mark Madden, just after he did the roll of dice, he made a masturbating joke.
Oh.
Rolling the dice.
Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, some of the things he said were a little definitely not PG.
No, Mark Madden is anything except PG. And so the Funkster ends up funking up for the third time in the show, hits the big boot, then hits not something we usually see from a Funkster, and hits a pile driver.
Yeah, that I thought. I mean, if I had to nitpick anything, that pile driver was just a little out of place.
But that was an Alan Funk thing. That's the thing.
I guess he wanted to put a little of himself in, but if you're going to go all out to that level, why not
just
finish it off
with
perfect
leg drop? But he did hit a leg drop after the pile driver, but you really didn't need the pile driver in there.
Yeah, so you hold out, you hit you punch back and forth, a few extra right hands, you throw him in. Drop him to the ground, throw him into the ropes, big boot, leg drop, match is over. That's the way it's supposed to go.
So the Funkster won this match at 7 minutes and 34 seconds.
Yeah,
it seemed to go a little longer to me.
I think it felt longer than that. I don't think it was that short, but
yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of it, and it's I think mostly because just the overacting of Alan Funk in this, and being such a dead-on Funkster.
See, I thought originally the promo was kind of like a caricature, at some points, I thought maybe, whatever. But the match itself, him being a caricature, was perfect because Hulk Hogan himself is a cartoon character. I mean, in a lot of ways. And he performed it perfect. Every little detail seemed to be just perfectly Hulk Hogan with his mannerisms in between hits,
I think he did great. Like, he sold it like Hogan would. I think the only thing is he bumped more than Hogan ever would.
Yeah, that's true. But he had the look, too. I mean, the look was spot on as well.
And both these guys have worked together for years because they're both actually power plant guys. They're WCW Power Plant, their training facility. So they've known each other a while. So we're putting them together, actually, I think did well.
I would like to see more personality from Reno. If I would have known, because all Hulk Hogan's nemesis were always being over-the-top villains, and he really didn't do much except go out there and perform. So I made notes saying, I wonder what he was thinking during this match, because basically getting the spotlight hammed up, and he really just was wrestling.
He was just kind of a character. Like, it just kind of was there, where he had a lot of really good, the other Funkster had a lot of really good opponents in his day, so... I don't know.
Yeah, the real Funkster, yeah.
The real Funkster. Because at one point, Borash did call him the Hulkster.
Yeah, he did by accident, and he denied it. I think it maybe was an honest, intentional mistake, or it was
just an honest screw-up, yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, we go to a backstage promo where a limo pulls up, and then another woman gets out, and another woman. 6 or 7 women got out, and then Scott Steiner.
How do you pack 7 women in the backseat of a limo?
Yeah. So he gets in Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner shows up like, it's like a half hour, 45 minutes late for work already, I think.
Yeah, but he'd be pimping hoes.
So out comes Disco Inferno, who's mad because he was originally supposed to face Grandmaster Sexy on this show, Brian Christopher on this show. So he no longer has a match. So he decides. And he's mad. He's even more mad that he didn't give him the championship match too. So he decides to issue an open challenge and then just goes sits at the announce booth. And he was not a strong addition to the announce booth. I didn't think.
No, and in his back and forth with Madden was a little awkward.
Oh, it just seemed too much. So from here we go to match number 3. It's the Native Blood, the Navajo Warrior and Ghostwalker versus Chronic, Brian Adams and Brian Clark. Had you ever heard of Native Blood before?
No, I mean, as far as a team jobbing out goes, they were pretty good, but I had never heard of them or anything about them. Surprisingly, you think it would have stood out and have been remembered more.
Nobody knew who these people were. This was an unknown tag team. They just found 2 random guys that had a tag team like that they were a tag team. They found them out of nowhere and just put them on this show, with
local talent.
No hype behind them. Which is, to me, if I'm paying to go to a show like this, I want to see Chronic face a tag team with a name.
Yeah,
or at least more known people, not just some two random dudes. Where once you see them, you're like, yeah, I know they're gonna get beat up.
Yeah, on a TV show I could accept it, but yeah, on a pay-per-view that was a little weak. Yeah,
when you're paying for it, yeah, you gotta be better than that. So
it's only $20, but still.
That's $20 plus the people that are in the crowd. They're probably paying a minimum $30 to $40 per ticket.
Yeah.
To be there, so it's like you gotta give them a decent wrestlers, not two random jabronis out of the Nevada wrestling scene.
Yeah, they did kind of chintz out in that one, and I mean you could see how much taller and everything that Brian Adams and Brian Clark were. I mean they were not in the same league.
They looked like they had just pumped their steroids.
Yeah.
Christ, man, these two were gigantic in every which way. Like just they were huge. Like I've watched enough WCW in 2000, 2001, and then the Invasion angle. I'm not a fan of Chronic. I've never thought these guys were good wrestlers, but they got a good reaction from the crowd.
Yeah, I mean they were the only team that was going to win, and I mean of course a name like Brian Adams, he'd be waking up the neighbors and bouncing off the walls.
But he's just hanging out with his friends in low places.
Yeah.
So Chronic, essentially, it's pretty much all Chronic this entire match. I think Native Blood got maybe 10 to 20 seconds worth of offense.
Yeah, I called it a glorified squash match.
Yeah, the one spot where they did, they did get the. I wrote this down. I apologize. The fat Native Blood guy. I can't remember. I don't know which one was which. He hit a DDT on Clark, and they got a double drop kick onto Clark, and then they did a drop toe hold leg drop combo. I think that was the entirety of their offense in this match.
Yeah, it was basically Madden's inappropriate pretending to misunderstand about what the Navajo Nation was. Yeah. Saying that when they split it up, they formed Belarus, and they really tried to carry the match.
I thought, like, for kind of as uninteresting as this match was, because it was essentially just Chronic beating him down, I thought Mark Madden, at least with his comedy, gave me a little more to this match.
Yeah, it basically tried to carry it because there was nothing else to it.
Yeah, and like Clark hits this huge Uranagi on the younger looking one, and then Adams comes back, hits the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Clark hits the meltdown, and like it's like he pump power slam, but only gets 2. So then Chronic hits the high times, which is that double choke slam, and they win it in 4 minutes 51 seconds. There isn't that much to this match.
That wasn't the only and worst squash match on the card. That's the sad thing for a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
and we'll get to the other one later.
Wasn't that good, but it's not the worst match on this show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to come still.
Oh, that's coming up in a little while. So I made this comment. Disco Inferno is so annoying on commentary.
Yep. I think it
annoying.
added to his character, but it did not do the show much.
So the midget named Puppet ends up doing a promo, and he talks about being a midget and then wanting to destroy them all. And the Starettes come out on stage, they dance, but comparatively from the 7-woman crew from the first pay-per-view to the 3-woman dance team this one, I think it's like, wow, the Nitro Girls are just leaving.
A little more personal, but yeah, definitely shrinking.
Yeah, so I was just like, man, just stop with the Starettes Nitro Girls thing. It doesn't need to happen anymore. So
they can find some other intermission or some way to pass the time, or just they could have got Tantric out to play something, or I don't know.
Yeah, like honestly, as much as I didn't like that first song, another song wouldn't have been the worst thing at this point instead of Dancers.
And all the hype they gave to the casino, they could have maybe give Tantric a chance to show off something of theirs for 30 seconds or a minute.
There you go. So then the midgets come out and they fight, and they essentially do like a midgets hardcore match, which I didn't write notes on this because I didn't really care for it.
I love midget wrestling. I was having a blast. I wish we could see more of it. I really wish we could.
Midget wrestling, like when Short Sleeve Sampling brings in Midget Wrestling Warriors, I thought it was great, but I find they come in and they do just straight up wrestling matches. But this is more hardcore style, and this
was hardcore.
Like it was midget hardcore, which I don't know. I guess maybe when I was watching this, I just wasn't in the mood for it. Maybe I'm not sure about it. Like I just wasn't sure, but in the end, Puppet beat Tio. So
yeah, like you'd expect.
Another midget down for Puppet, I guess.
Yeah, actually, in the old days, midget wrestling often ended with the baby faces winning. So it's nice to see they actually take it seriously. And I think that's the problem with midget wrestling. And just to add an aside is that, you know, a lot of it nowadays, of course, it's the LP community probably would say, you know, this is humiliating to us. But there are some people in the community that would probably not mind doing it and just like to perform and have a job.
You got Short Sleeve Samson, and he runs a tour. He does bring in women to work the show, and he usually has two non-midget wrestlers on the show too, but he'll bring a tour through with midget wrestling warriors and there'll be at least 4 midget matches per show.
Man, if you can show they can wrestle and make them look like they're actually wrestlers, they can put on a pretty good show, and they deserve to have a chance to perform too. They're pretty good, some of these guys. Well,
Short Sleeve Samson, he's not one of the guys who was here, but he worked for TNA for a while doing like a miniature Slick gimmick. The referee, Slick Johnson, who's on this show, he pretended he was like his miniature version, and he wrestled in a bunch of matches in TNA and succeeded.
Yeah, and if they look like they're actually good wrestlers and good athletes and performing well, they don't have to look at it like it's making fun of them or people are laughing at them. But it can just be fun, entertaining, good, solid wrestling.
But you got to also remember what the time we're in February of 2002, so a lot of people, unless the midgets are just beating the crap out of each other with weapons, would have just got a deadpan reaction.
Yeah, definitely the hardcore for that time was probably right.
Oh yeah, for the time it was right. For me, it wasn't my highlight of the night. I'll say that right now. So from there, Big Papa Pup comes out with the midgets still in the ring, and then he just beats up on the. Did I say the puppets?
Well, yeah, I know the midgets. Was that really necessary?
He beats up on the midgets and he just throws Puppet and Chio out of the ring.
And is that really necessary? Like, did they really need to do that to make Big Papa Pump look bigger? Like, seriously.
But it made him look huge.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like a little overkill. He already is huge.
Okay, so he gets on the mic and he says one word. He goes, he's the aficionado of poontang. And a bunch of other stuff to do with vagina. But just when he said the aficionado of poontang, I thought, that's hilarious.
Yes, definitely not something you can do much in today's world.
No, but this is a Steiner promo of Steiner promos. It's him just talking about having sex with people and talking about his muscles. That's what he always does. And he says he's mad that he didn't get a title shot and he's gonna kick someone's ass. So he decides to go over to the commentary booth, and Disco Inferno is just constantly saying, yeah, beat up Mark Madden, kick his ass. And Mark Madden's like, no, I don't want any of this. And then Scott Steiner proceeds to beat the crap out of Disco Inferno.
Open challenge accepted.
The thing is, they never actually started the match.
No, it was never a match. It was just a beatdown.
It was just him beating, and like, it's just but the thing is, I gotta say with Steiner, his belly to belly suplexes are perfect.
Yes.
Like, as even to this day, if you watch stuff from the last few years, he can't do most things in the ring for anything, but he can still throw a damn good belly to belly suplex. That was always been one of his best moves.
And from the top turnbuckle, that was sick.
Yeah, and it's Disco ended up getting back into the match, went for a double axe handle, but just gets hit with another belly-to-belly suplex.
Yeah, he got destroyed. It was fun to watch because they set him up for it. I mean, people wanted to see it happen.
And he ended up like you said, he did the top rope belly-to-belly, did his push-ups, and then just put him in the Steiner recliner, and Disco passed out.
Yeah, it seemed like it was sort of like a match, but it really wasn't. It was more of an encounter, I call it.
Yeah, I call it. If you look at the Wikipedia page, they listed as one of the matches, but it technically never was. There was no finish. There was no start. There was no referee.
Yeah.
And actually, when Disco was at the commentary desk before Scott attacked him, there's this big Asian dude just shoved Disco Inferno out towards Scott Steiner. And I think if you notice when you see the announcers throughout the night, there's just a big Asian dude sitting kind of behind them, but on their side of the guardrail. I think he's like their bodyguard. I was like, what the hell? Maybe
they want to make sure if the crowd get into it, they have someone to protect them. But they're wrestlers.
I just really found it. I just really found it funny that the Asian dude just shoved Disco Inferno at Scott Steiner. It's just like, what the hell are you doing? But, yeah. So,
we all wanted to see him get his butt kicked, anyways. I mean, Disco Inferno was asking for it. I mean, it was kind of funny. They were both heels. That was interesting about that dynamic.
Yeah. So from there, Scott Steiner brings all his hose.
That's what I said.
They probably are. But Godfather probably hooked him up when he got into town. But, he brings all his freaks in the ring, and then he leaves with them. Pretty simple end to that. So from there, we go to the fourth match of the evening, and I think probably one of my favorite matches of the night. The triple threat match for the WWA International Cruiserweight Championship. And it's Juventud Guerrera taking on the champion, Psychosis. And if you guys are wondering how Psychosis became the champion, because the last show we watched,
Guerrero was the champion. Yeah, he won the match.
No, yeah, Juventud Guerrera won the championship, but then at a live event, because they were running this as a touring company, Psychosis beat Hoovy.
That's crazy. But yeah, I figured it had to have happened because it was the last one. It was Guerrero that won.
So the final member of this match is Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero.
So this was during the time where after he had jumped to WWE in 2000 with the Radicals, and then in 2001 he ended up getting released from the company due to drug problems and stuff, and he would return, I think, in late 2002, early 2003, or late 2002, because it's when he joined up with Chavo Guerrero and did that tag team thing. But this is the time he was running on the Indies because just due to personal issues.
Yeah, it was good to see him making his comeback. Anyways, it was surprising.
There's another match from this time that I recommend anybody go check out, and it's on YouTube. It's an IWA Mid-South match. It's Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk. If you haven't seen this match, and Danimal, if I'm guessing you haven't,
that sounds pretty damn good. That's for sure.
It's on YouTube. It's free. Watch it because it's Punk in his early on in his career versus Rey Mysterio, who's in between his WCW and his WWE run, and Eddie Guerrero, who's off on after his first firing from the WWE. It's kind of this almost this perfect match.
Well, consider that a dream match, I would say. So.
Oh yeah, and then you get this, which I thought you have three guys who they have known each other for a long time. These three, because they've all worked in Mexico together. They all worked in WCW together, so they're well known to each other. I'd have to say.
Yeah, they had good chemistry. That's for sure. It was a very good match.
Yeah. So it's a lot of really good stuff. I thought Psychosis looked really, really good in this. I've always been impressed by him, and I think toward his later runs, maybe in 2006 when he took on Mysterio there for the WWE ECW match there. I didn't care for him quite then, but here he's probably at his peak wrestling ability.
Yeah, he definitely stood out in the match quite a bit. That's for sure. Guerrero was not at his best. You've been to. I thought this match was. He was good. I mean, all three of the men were really good, but I thought that Psychosis did outshine him.
Yeah, and I thought Eddie, he really brought something to this match about because Hoovy and Psychosis are known for a lot of flying moves, but Eddie really brought the ground game to it, and they worked up it felt like more of a very technical style in this match. Which, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of dives and things like that too, but I thought Eddie's addition to this really worked in his style.
Yeah, they had lots of three-way sets or three people moves, which is kind of, or at least they tried to do some.
Yeah, right off the top they did a three-way lockup.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot to this match. Hoovy ends up hitting this pump handle face buster to Psychosis. I was just like he brought him up, and then it looked like he kind of slipped, and he dropped him down, but face first into the mat.
Yeah, that did look almost like a botch. I almost wondered about that.
Yeah, and they end up Hoovy and Psychosis actually double suplex Eddie to the outside at one point.
Yeah, cheap.
Yeah, and then so they get Hoovy ends up hitting his wheelbarrow bulldog on Eddie or on Psychosis for 2, but Eddie breaks it up. Then Hoovy and Cy both go for drop kicks on Eddie, but Eddie just moves out of the way and they drop kick each other.
That was cool. Yeah, Eddie moved out of the way.
there's so much like just good stuff from these guys. Like
The chemistry was very good. They had that match very well put together. That's for sure.
yeah, and then like Hoovy hits when he does his wheelbarrow bulldog thing again, but he ends up hitting both. Like he wheelbarrows up on side, and then grabs Eddie too, and just bulldogs them both. It just the ability from these guys is awesome.
Yeah, it was a very fun match to watch for sure. As solid a match as on the show in terms of wrestling quality. That was probably the match of the night, wrestling quality wise.
Yeah, so Psychosis it gets Eddie up on the turnbuckle, and he goes for a Hurricane Rana, but Eddie just holds on, and Psychosis just hits the mat, and Eddie just jumps, hits the frog splash, and gets the pin, and he becomes the new WWA Cruiserweight champion at 12 minutes and 40 seconds, and I really enjoyed this match.
I'd like to have seen it gone more, and I don't know.
I wish it was longer.
And the only thing was Eddie Guerrero winning the championship, and of course, if I thought he was going to have a long time with it, I would have said that was great. But knowing that he doesn't even make it to the next pay-per-view 2 months later, that's kind of disappointing. I thought they should have thought more long-term in the final outcome, but they kind of gave into the star power, I think.
Oh yeah. And then he starts cutting a promo about personal business, and he says it's time time for him to make his way back up to the top. So then Jerry Lynn comes out.
Excuse me.
Yeah. So Jerry Lynn comes out and starts agonizing Eddie. And then Eddie calls him an essay homie.
Oh,
right, essay homie. I was just like, what? So he runs down to Eddie, and then Eddie and Jerry attacks Eddie, but then Eddie beats up on him for a while. But then Lynn gets the upper hand and hits him with a cradle pile driver and leaves him laying there with the belt. And he actually says he's got his number and he'll be back for his belt, is what Jerry Lynn says to Guerrero.
It was a well done ending for sure. If we knew they were going to meet again in a pay-per-view, that would have been awesome. But
I think that was the plan, was for these two to be the next program and eventually be the next pay-per-view match.
I think that's what they were saying. And unfortunately, only Jerry Lynn really went on to do it.
But the thing is, Eddie decided to re-sign with the company, and he got back to the company. I think he re-signed around the time of the next pay-per-view, but didn't actually appear with the company until later in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he was contract. He couldn't actually do it though due to contracts. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. If they would have thought I had known what the future held, I would like to have think they would have built one of the other guys up.
But you never know, right? You have Eddie Guerrero, probably one of the best cruiserweight level wrestlers at that time. You use him.
Yeah, that's true.
You make him your guy. Yeah, you lose him for the next show, but you still have him. So, yeah. So the Starettes end up dancing again. Again, way too long, kind of pointless.
Yeah.
But so from there we go to our fifth match of the evening, and it's a no disqualification match between Devon Storm, the former Crowbar in WCW, versus Sabu with Bill Alfonso.
This match pretty much had to carry the show for the most part because it went on so long, but it really had to because they had to fill a lot of.
How long they went? This is the longest match of the show at 20 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yeah, and beyond that too, because they battled outside of the ring too at the end.
I think they did a total of like half an hour just for this match alone.
Yeah, it was
before,
very,
after,
very long.
and during. So I thought Devon Storm, he tried to play a more technical wrestler in this match. Like as Mark Mann was saying, Devon Storm more technical, and he actually looked the part too, because if you look at Devon Storm from before the last pay-per-view and with WCW, he always wore pants and looked kind of sloppy, where this one comes out wearing tights, wearing boots, I think he was trying to change up the look for himself.
Like he meant business?
Yeah. But I going into this, I looked at it, I found out how long this match was, and I'm like, wow, I have to sit through a 20-minute Sabu match? As I've never been a huge fan of Sabu, because I'm not a big fan of the crazy stuff, but I really liked this match.
I did too. This was actually my match of the night, not wrestling quality wise, but just they put on a good hardcore showcase.
So I got to point out a spot where Devon, he moves the steps out of the way. He moves up the steps, and then he goes for a suplex off the steps to the floor. But Sabu ends up grabbing the ropes, and Devon just falls right to the floor by himself. Did you see, like, he was on, like, they were on the steps, he went for the suplex, and then, like, Sabu just grabbed on the ropes and Devin just fell to the floor.
See, I was almost wondering if that was a botch, too, because it looked very awkward.
And then but the thing is, Sabu then dives on the Devin, but he lands on his face. And that's where he cut himself open. I don't know if he ablated it afterwards, but it's right after that spot where he is bleeding.
Yeah, he was the only guy in the show who bled more.
Yeah, that was super early.
He bled more than Mamaluke.
Oh, yeah. So, and it's just been weird. And then then Alfonso ended up setting a table up on the outside. And so Devin gets Sabu on the apron, and he kicks him over, and he goes does the sunset flip over the ropes it grabs Sabu, but he kicks the table, and then he kind of falls to his ass and powerbomb Sabu down. I gotta think they meant to powerbomb Sabu through the table. It's just they came up short.
Yeah, it looked like that. It was another one that was kind of awkward. It definitely was not a very technically solid match, that's for sure. They were selling on the hardcore excitement, that's for sure.
And the thing is, for me, like, I've never been a hardcore guy, but the thing is, they weren't being excessively hardcore. Like,
I think the show needed this match. It needed this action because so much of the show, I think, lagged with the lack of talent or the loss of the talent.
Oh yeah, and like there was hardcore too, but this to me wasn't the excessive. Like, they did the hardcore for hardcore enough for just hitting stake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it looked like it had a story or had a purpose to it.
Had a little more than usual, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So Sabu, like, there was a spot where, because they already missed the table, so Sabu went and put Devin on the table, and he climbed up onto the apron to do like an Asai moonsault, and then Devin just gets off the table and just pulls Sabu down. It's like, oh, that was anticlimactic. Yeah. So Sabu does the launch off the chair to the top, to the top rope, and does the moonsault back into the ring. Like, I'm for everything like Sabu does for hardcore, I'm impressed by his ability.
And he's got that athleticism that really added to the match and didn't make it just about two bruisers beating the crap out of each other with chairs. That's for sure.
Yeah. And there was this other spot where Devin Storm picks up Sabu and just does a DVD to the chair. I was like, perfect use of the chair of a hardcore style, but you're not excessively hurting a guy.
And then the suplex onto the two chairs together. There was some amazing, brutal stuff in this match.
Like, he puts two chairs facing each other, and he goes to pick him up the powerbomb, but Sabu slides through. He picks him up and does the powerbomb spot again, and it looked like Sabu was trying to come down for an X Factor through the chair. But he slipped again and kind of landed, so he just grabbed him and suplexed him into the two chairs. Storm into the two chairs.
And the announcer even said he went through the chairs, and he didn't.
Yeah, he just went into the chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was just a lot of back and forth, just beating the crap out of each other, but it felt organic, not just I'm hitting you to hit you. Like WWE's 2002 hardcore division. This did not feel like that.
And like I said, if you're going to make errors, you're going to have a match with errors in it. At least let the errors feel like they're not taken away from the match, that they just add to it. Because these two guys are trying to kill each other.
Yeah,
why should they have to be perfect at it?
Like, there was a few botches in this match, but they just moved on from it, and they didn't try to do the same move again. They just went to something else. Yeah,
they didn't harp on it. They didn't make it look like, we screwed up or anything. They just kept going.
Yeah. Well, there was a spot where Sabu set up the chair in the ring, and then Devin Storm was on the table on the outside, and he did his triple jump, and off the chair onto the thing, and then just springboard and just springboard splashes right through Devin on the table. But the thing is, when he does that, Devin just no-sells it and gets back up and just beats the crap out of Sabu.
But he moved out of the way, didn't he? That was when he moved out of the way, and Sabu went right through the table himself. He missed.
I thought he put Devin through the table.
I think it looked like Devin moved to me. I thought it went right through himself, but
to me, I thought he put him in through. But still, that wasn't the only table break of this.
It was pretty cool, anyways.
So the finish came where Sabu ends up getting Devin into like a German suplex position and brings him towards the ropes, and Bill Alfonso gets a chair, and he gets up and he goes to swing and hit Devin Storm, but as it always happens, Storm
the hero dodges out of the way.
and he hits Sabu right in the fore, like just unprotected, like every other shot in this match. Which that I didn't like because I'm not a fan of people getting brain damage.
Yeah, shot to the heads would not be allowed anymore. That's concussion country, man. They didn't observe that back then.
So he hits Sabu with the chair, and Storm rolls him up for the 1-2-3, and Devon Storm wins the match at 20 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yeah,
but
it was good. I gave it a B-. That's a pretty good match.
Yeah, I think one of the better matches of the show. But it wasn't even over at this point. I think Sabu grabs a chair and just attacks. Just starts beating the crap out of Storm on the stage, and Alfonso grabs another table and brings it up, and they set up the table, and then he puts him on the table, but kind of puts him on one side of the table.
Yeah.
And then Sabu goes up to the top. Alfonso throws him a chair, and he does the Arabian leg drop with the chair through the table to kind of end the segment.
It really didn't, though. They kept fighting, but that was awesome.
He kept fighting, but then Alfonso
climax
just dragged Sabu to the back, and it was over.
They just didn't want to quit. I don't think the fans really cared.
No, honestly, for a hardcore match, I enjoyed it more than I thought it would.
I almost think the guys should face each other in a steel cage in the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, so from there, we go to a backstage segment with Lenny and Lodi, and it just shows Lenny bent over, and he goes, "Lodi, not so hard, that hurts." And then it shows Lodi like sewing something onto Lenny's butt, like onto his tights on his ass, and then he goes, "You got a pair of scissors?" He goes, "No." Okay, and then he just puts his face right by his ass and bites the thread to cut it. I'm like, okay, more overtly gay stuff from these two.
He's dreaming that guy's Chris Jericho, I swear, because he looked just like him back then.
He looked exactly like him. So from here we go to our next match of the evening. It's a tag team match, and it's Lenny and Lodi versus Rick Steiner. Or ends up Lodi and Lenny, they come out. Rick Steiner comes out, and then the announcers say they don't even know who they're facing. So Rick Steiner comes out, and then who's his partner? Ernest the Cat Miller.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna make a fat joke. He even said it.
Madden's like, he's gonna make a fat joke at me, and then Ernest and calls them girly. He literally like ignores Madden and starts calling them girly boys and stuff. Then just turns to Madden, and you're fat. So
that added something to a match that was absolutely terrible otherwise.
So they get into the match, and it's Lenny and Rick Steiner just beats the crap out of Lenny. The Cat tags in, hits his spin kick, and then gets 1-2-3.
It's over.
That is literally, I just described you the entire match. 58 seconds.
Yeah, it was nothing. For Rick Steiner, man, I mean, it was fitting, I guess, but it was like nothing.
If I was this crowd, I'd be pissed. Like,
even worse, if they knew Rick Steiner was coming or thought Rick Steiner was coming, they might have been like, we waited for this?
Come on, we sat here, we're getting this shit match for whatever we paid for our seats. I'd be pissed.
It was very much a filler match. I mean, it was nice to get some talent in it, like Rick Steiner, but I mean, if they had announced him and
like Lenny and Lodi, they're good. They're good. They're good wrestlers. Give them
and they're regular roster members going forward too.
Yeah, I know. So Rick and Ernest, they chase Lenny and Lodi to the back. Then Ernest Cat Miller like beats up on Madden twice. Like, as he was chasing them, he beat up on Madden. Then he chased them off. Then he comes back and beats them up again.
And taking out Borash in the process.
Yeah, Borash just gets like Madden just falls over, just knocks Borash down, and then it's just like dead air because there's nobody calling anything. It's just like, what the hell? And I don't know the backstory between these two, but it seems very dumb that you're fighting with an announcer.
Yeah, almost as dumb as two referees fighting, eh?
Yeah, we're gonna get into that here within the next minute or so.
Foreshadowing.
So from here we go to match number 7 for the WWA World Heavyweight Championship, and it's the Grand Master Brian Christopher versus the current WWA Champion, the Chosen One Jeff Jarrett. I have to make a point out because me and Kyle talked about it on the last show. We mentioned that when we saw when Brett presented the championship, it looked like the most low rent belt I've ever seen.
Cheap.
But on this show, Jeff Jarrett's got a new belt, and it actually looks like a nice championship belt that says WWA on it and looks really good.
That's where the money for the budget went.
But the thing is, I don't know what happened to the WWE the WWE Cruiserweight Championship, because the belt that Hoovy is carrying when he came out for the Cruiserweight Championship looks exactly like the old heavyweight title. I'm pretty sure they lost the Cruiserweight title, made a new heavyweight title, and just said, here, the old heavyweight title is your new Cruiserweight belt.
It saves money that way, I guess.
I guess so. So, Brian Christopher actually comes out to his cool music. Like, dun, 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 na, na, na. I thought I was surprised. It's got to be public available music if they're using it on pay-per-view.
Yeah, it'd have to be.
Yeah, and then Jarrett's music, like me and Kyle thought the last show, really, really sucks.
Yeah, that doesn't do. I mean, he's a good champion, but it doesn't do much for me. His entrance.
I don't even think he's a good champion, but he's wearing those stupid yellow safety glasses.
Yeah.
Like, I've worn those, but I was on job sites and it's bright during the day, so you get that yellow pair, so it cuts down the sun, and those are literally safety glasses.
He wears it to try to add to his look or whatever, which I don't know.
I don't know. So Brian Christopher gets the mic and he says, because the crowd's going, "You suck" to Jarrett, and he goes, "Jarrett doesn't suck, he swallows."
Ow!
But the thing is, that's not the quote. If he has to suck to swallow,
yeah,
remember that. He doesn't blow, he swallows.
Yeah,
that's the quote. It's just
like make like a tree and get out of here, almost like Biff Tannen.
it's just dumb crap from these guys. It's just like, come on, man.
Suffer and succotash, man. Suffer and succotash.
So yeah, match starts. Jarrett hits an arm drag, then does his strut, and then he hits a hip toss, and then does his strut again. I hate that strut.
Yeah, Jarrett tried to carry the match by pissing off the crowd, but I don't know.
Well, the thing is, for me, Jeff Jarrett is a guy who he's only a champion because he's paying for it all.
I guess that would probably help.
Because he's in charge. He's always felt like to me a mid-carder who got more than he should. Like for me, Jarrett is a great high-end mid-card wrestler, just not a great main event guy.
Yeah, he needs to have quality guys behind him, like Brian James singing his music for him and such.
Yeah, it's just but he's a great wrestler in the ring. Like, his in-ring ability is really good.
I think that's also why, I mean, there isn't many guys on the roster that are there day in and day out that have his talent that can actually make the crowd upset. So I think he probably got the title by default almost too.
He's a good heel, and he's a good in-ring wrestler. It's just I've never looked at him as a main eventer, but he got his main event spot, and good for him. You know what I mean? You do what you need to get to the top.
Yeah, that's definitely Jeff Jarrett. He as a character and in real life.
You even create your own company.
Yeah.
With Vince McMahon's money, really.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a real life heel as well as a character.
Yeah, so Lawler, I keep calling him Lawler. Brian Christopher, whatever he's called. Brian Christopher ends up clotheslining Jarrett to the outside, and he goes and hits a baseball slide through the ropes and then comes back in, and his pants kind of fall off.
Yeah, he does that stupid dance that
he goes for a dance and his pants fall off.
Yeah.
So he pulls his pants back up and gets them all hooked back up. They're just like, what the hell?
He must have worked at that for a while to get just the right move and just the right pair of pants that would just fall down when he did that stupid dance.
And then, so they end up fighting to the outside, and then they end up fighting into the crowd. And at one point, Jarrett grabs a fan's beer out of his hands and throws it in Christopher's face.
That's pretty cool, getting the fan involved. And the crowd was having fun. I don't think they cared about the match that much, but they had fun.
I'd get pissed and be like, give me some money for another beer, man. Like,
no kidding.
I'm guessing at that point in time, if you're in a casino for a show like that, he's like, you probably paid like 2000's money. I'm going to say $6 for that, $5 to $6 for that beer.
Yeah, they probably got him back later on the back end. I imagine they probably don't. I don't think they make him suffer, but at the same time he'd be like, "Hey, guess what happened to me? Jeff Jarrett stole my beer and threw it at his opponent."
But yeah, that's just something to say. Like, he stole my beer, but I'd be like, "Damn it, I don't have a beer anymore."
That's the downside.
Yeah.
And the beer's closed now because it's already the last match, right?
Yeah, it's the last match, so there's no more beer. So they end up back in the ring, and Lawler goes for a Bronco Buster and ends up missing and crotches himself on the Bronco Buster's second rope. And then Jarrett just takes back over, beating on him, and he does Irish whips him into two opposite corners twice, and then he goes up to the top, does a crossbody, but then Christopher just rolls through and just gets a 2 count.
Yeah, like, why?
Yeah, why? So they get back up, and then Jarrett just immediately puts a sleeper hold on. I looked at my clock on my video, because I downloaded the video and was watching it on a player. Mm-hmm. And I saw, as I remember this from the last show, he puts a sleeper hold on for a while. He puts the sleeper hold on at 2 hours, 31 minutes, and 21 seconds. He releases it when they stand up and he starts to get elbowed at 2 minutes, 32 seconds, and 48 seconds. 2 hours, 32 minutes, and 48 seconds.
Wow.
He got that thing on for like a minute and a half.
That's a good way to get a rest, isn't it?
That's a rest spot right there. Like, a huge rest spot. And that's the spot where they're just laying on the mat and they're doing the arm drop thing. It's just like, come on. And it's just like, you really need, after this match where you haven't worked really that hard, you need
that big of a rest spot.
You need a rest spot? Like, holy crap.
How old are you guys?
Yeah. Brian, and then, so Christopher actually ends up taking back over, and Brian Christopher actually ends up hitting a sunset flip from the inside of the ring to the outside to Jarrett to the floor. I was surprised Jarrett took that bump.
Yeah. It was nice, though. Yeah, you really didn't get to think a lot of him to that match, did he?
Yeah. So Jeff Jarrett ends up going to try and take a chair from like somebody at ringside, and then the ref comes over and grabs the chair away from him, and he's getting mad at him, and Brian Christopher goes to super kick Jarrett, and Jarrett just ducks, and he just nails the referee.
That was beautiful. It was a very good super kick for a ref to take that kind of a...
Oh, perfect. So then Brian grabs the chair and just hits Jeff with it and throws him back in the ring. And then Christopher goes up, does the hip-hop drop, the top rope leg drop, but there's no referee to count. But
referee!
But then after, like, you hear Borash go 1, 2, 3, and then Slick Johnson slides in the ring and counts 2, but the ref that got super kicked pulls Slick
wakes
Johnson
up all of a sudden and pulls him out of the ring.
and then he goes in, or then Jeff Jarrett, they're fighting on the outside, Jeff Jarrett hits Brian Christopher with the guitar, and he gets a twin count when the original ref gets back in. He gets 2, and then Slick pulls him out. So then they both get in the ring, and they start pushing each other, and Mark Madden says they're fighting over a pick. They're fighting over the pick that one of the musicians threw away during the match, or during the concert.
I guess it's a funny joke, and then the debris in the ring is just from Tantric's guitar.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. So Jeff ends up throwing Slick Johnson out of the ring, and then throws him into a barricade, and then he grabs the title belt. So he slides back in, and he goes to swing and hit Christopher, but he misses with the belt, and then the referee somehow is distracted, and then Brian Christopher hits the pile driver, goes up to hit a pile driver on Jeff Jarrett, but Jeff Jarrett ends up low blowing him, and then hits the stroke onto the belt and gets the 1, 2, 3.
Wasn't that a skull crushing finale? It sure looked like it.
Well, it's close. Like what it is actually like if you think about a Russian leg sweep, you pull the guy's arm across you and then grab the head and then go backwards.
Oh, okay.
It's essentially the forward version of that. It's almost the same because with the skull crushing finale, you get him into the full Nelson and then push him forward.
Right.
Yeah, it's a bit different setup, but in the end, the same move. But yeah, and he gets the 1, 2, 3, and your winner and still WWA World Heavyweight Champion, the Chosen One, Jeff Jarrett.
But I call shenanigans on that match.
12.5 minutes. Yeah, 12.5 minute match.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Well, I think it said on the thing I was reading 15 minutes, but still not a very long main event. They definitely chinched out on that and let the hardcore match carry the show.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad match, but it just wasn't a good high end main event match.
And they should have had more time to the triple threat cruiserweight match, maybe a little less to the hardcore match, and put more into the main event.
I agree with that. So at this point, I want to ask you for your highlight and your low light of the show.
Well, my specific highlight, of course, was the Funkster. I mean, that was no doubt about that.
So good.
Low light was the two squash matches, kind of really lagged behind. But the overall, like looking at the pay-per-view and how it's going, there's only 7 main roster people from the first pay-per-view on this one, and all the rest were either new or guest shots or whatever. Yeah. It's almost like, I mean, it's a tough thing to have to make a new promotion. You want your first pay-per-view to be huge and epic. Same time, you want to start building talent and building, your main core guys, and that's crossed between the two. And then, of course, I didn't feel that transitioned well from the first into the second.
No, this is a big difference. So yeah, it's weird seeing coming in. My highlight of the night, I'm gonna go with the opening 6-way. I really enjoyed that, and getting to see a lot of these guys like AJ Styles, Loki, Daniels earlier on in their career, and being just as good then as they just got better from there. And Loki, I really enjoyed that match. That's got to be my highlight of the night.
It was a fun match, I agree.
And my low light, it's got to be Lenny and Lodi versus Steiner and the Miller, just because of how abrupt it was and pointless. It didn't even need to be on the show.
I mean, I love Rick Steiner. That's the only reason I at all liked it, but
I just think it really put a sour taste in my mouth. It's like, why are you even doing a 58-second match?
And they didn't advertise it. They didn't do anything to hype it up or promote it. It just surprise opponents, Rick Steiner and the Cat, and the match is over, and that was it. It was like just a 2-minute filler surprise segment that really nobody got anything out of.
Pretty much, and that just to me is a little late. Comparatively to the last show, this one is far and above better in-ring wise, and just overall, I enjoyed the heck out of this show overall.
The second one, yeah, it was overall as a show. There's a lot of fun stuff in it and a lot of good matches. I mean, even if the talent wasn't quite as it could have been, the guys themselves really put on a good show with what they had. So
because this show was more focused on the wrestlers than the first pay-per-view being focused on just angles and gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
This one was more focused about let's get some good wrestling on here and build our wrestling base, which I really enjoyed.
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing more characters. The show kind of felt more like a little more like a house show, and I want to say like like a Raw show almost in some ways. But even Raw has more characters and personalities, and this one didn't even have that. It was more just a bunch of people clashing. And
I wish there was more of what the last pay-per-view had in the more backstage segments and building stuff up.
That's what this one missed. It was the personality side of it.
I really miss Stevie Ray.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
So enjoyable, and it's like I wish they would have brought him back for this one, but I don't know. Maybe he's still in Australia.
I guess he couldn't dig that sucker. Where's his brother?
But I want to thank you very much, Danimal, for joining me on the podcast.
Oh, it's been so much fun.
I've had a great time talking, and I really hope you'll come back a little bit later down the road and review some TNA weekly pay-per-views with me.
Oh yeah, no, I love looking at stuff from the past and seeing what it was. I mean, there's so much history that I may have missed here and there. It's always great to go back and look at it critically.
Yeah, it's a good time. So I'm looking forward to having you back on. And next time you will be on, it will be a TNA weekly pay-per-view. So
a true TNA.
True TNA. So before I let you go, where can listeners find you and follow you? And I know because you have and pimp out the other anything else you're doing.
Well, my favorite is to get a hold of me for a quick message is Twitter at Daniel Jobber, capital D, capital J. But if you want to see what I'm about and kind of get to know me, my personality really comes out a lot on Instagram under Danimal Daniel Jobber, all lowercase letters. And of course, if you just want to see my legacy, I guess, or my pride and joy, my website, DanimalDanielJobber.ca, has all kinds of different type of content on it. So that's and of course, there's also a merch link for the Jobber Championship merchandise or Jobber Champion merchandise, and of course, you can also get to the What a Maneuver collections for Backbreaker Media on that as well. So
yeah, so I am available on Twitter at That Canada Guy, on Instagram at That Canada Dude. And I will be returning here again in a couple of weeks' time with the fourth episode of Total Nonstop Anarchy and the final WWA pay-per-view, The Eruption, before we start doing the TNA weekly pay-per-views. I've had a great time talking to you, Daniel. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm going to look forward to checking out that pay-per-view too, because you get to see a little more of AJ Styles and Nova battling it out, and of course more of Jerry Lynn, and just a lot of the cruiserweights, see how they develop. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how this goes from here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. So everybody, please tune in, and don't forget watermaneuver.net/Backbreaker Media. You can find us on Facebook at Backbreaker Media, on Twitter at Backbreaker Medi. We don't need the A because we're already Canadian. And if you want to contact us, backbreakermedia@gmail.com is where you can contact us all. Thank you everybody for listening. And this has been Total Nonstop Anarchy, a trip down the TNA through history.
And Jobber out.